I think that is a really good point, and that democracy, you know, in rugby terms, democracy is the loser on the day. The 75% of all rates are going to be spent by the CCOs, and for average elected Joes like me, our ability to control those CCOs is somewhat questionable, and the way that they've been set up, the accountability, the strings of accountability are very, very long and thin. And I think it's going to take a pretty staunch council to draw that in and to strengthen those accountabilities.
Because you know you're going to get nailed if you do get in and you aren't able to stop some of these crazy CCO things. Because people are going to blame you. They're going to go, well, we voted you in. Why the bloody hell haven't you changed that? You go,
Makes you wonder,
I can't do anything.
Why are we doing this, Bomber? Why are we spending money to get in there? The reality is the community said they want good, strong people in there to challenge this. You know, we've watched over the last 15 years our inability to persuade Watercare to conduct their business differently. So, you know, forgive my cynicism about the ability for council to be able to control the CCOs. But we can unwind the worst excesses of the way they've been set up.
Thank you, panel. Issue 2. And a new low for this campaign. John Banks this week played the race card and claims Len Brown is being racially divisive by supporting a Māori seat on the Auckland Super City. A new sign of dirty, desperate tricks by Banks, or is he really this stupid? Penny, how can anyone take John Banks, who has said so many disgraceful things about anyone not white during his time as a talkback host, seriously when he claims Len Brown is trying to be racially divisive?
I think it's an incredibly simplistic and divisive statement. Waitakere supported Māori seats on the council because we realised that the chance for Māori to be elected to that top table were pretty slim. I think it's a cheap shot, and I don't think it's worthy of the way that John's engaged with this campaign.
Peter, John Banks is only parroting your leader's bigotry, isn't he? Rodney threw his toys out of the sandpit and threatened to resign to deny Māori representation. Māori can serve the biscuits in the meetings, but not actually have any representation, right?
What the ACT Party was opposed to was reserved seats for anyone. What I personally, I was at that time, was the spokesperson for Māori Affairs, associate spokesperson. What I was trying to push, both to the iwi groups, I was trying to recommend to them to push this line, and to ACT, was to push the line of proportional representation. And this is where the representation awards falls down, you see, because you can't have proportional representation.
So you believe they should have representation?
I believe that according to your constituency, you should be represented. But I don't believe that just because I'm a Māori and there's 12% of Māoris in Auckland, I should be appointed. It's a kind of a different thing. But if we can come back to the statement that John Banks has made, and I'm going to have to challenge you a wee bit here, Penny, is I think it was 2005 or 2006, Waitakere Council had a committee that looked at appointing Māori seats to the Waitakere Council, because you've been able to do that since 2002, I think, and decided not to. So I don't understand why the decision was made, the right decision was made not to reserve seats for Waitakere, and Len Brown was in the same position to do it at Manukau, but now the decision is made to reserve seats for the Super City.
What's that about?
And let me finish this, so please. So then, putting that in the context of John Banks' statement, I'd like to say to Len Brown, why is he bringing this up now if it's not just for political reasons? Why didn't he do it back in 2005 if he really believed it, just as Waitakere had the opportunity?
Reality of politics, like our community in the polls, the community was split down the middle on the Māori seats issue. Council was split down the middle on the Māori seats issue. We got it through by 2 votes, and that was our advocacy to the Royal Commission to support Māori seats, and I guess it was the same in Manukau. So at a personal level, Bob and I support Māori seats. Back when we set up the Taumata Runanga, we didn't have the numbers to do that.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Penny, Banks has said that if he gets elected, he will have a Māori representative in the Mayor's office anyway. So how is that not racially divisive, whereas Len Brown is supposedly racially divisive?
I don't understand what a Māori member in the Mayor's office means.
Well, that's what John Banks has said he will have. He'll just have somebody in the Mayor's office.
As a Māori advisor.
As a Māori advisor.
As a tikanga advisor or Māori advisor. Well, good for him.
So he's already looking to that. So how come that's not racially divisive, but Len Brown is?
I think it's so easy for people to talk about, you know, any time that you acknowledge the role of Māori as recreating apartheid. I grew up in South Africa. I understand exactly what apartheid is, and I will fight with every breath in my body to make sure that we don't have any of that in New Zealand. I think by acknowledging our treaty partners is actually the right and honourable thing to do. It's not racially divisive, and it certainly isn't apartheid.
Peter, this was just dog whistle politics from John, wasn't it?
I think it could have been dog whistle politics from Len. As I said, if he really believed that, why didn't he go and do it 4 or 5 years ago?
But we're not talking about Len, we're talking about Peter. We're talking about John. We're talking about John.
You've got to put it in the context of the statement. I mean,
so you don't think it was dog whistle politics?
It might have been dog whistle from both sides.
Oh, it's a little dog whistle. Penny, who wins, who loses by dragging the Super City Melty into the gutter by claiming racism?
Oh, well, one would hope that Māori might win, that we might at least have a decent discussion again about what the reality of good representation by Māori is. And I think this mayoral debate should stay out of the gutter and should stay respectful.
I'd like to see a debate on Māori representation, and it's got to be a multi-level debate because there's more than one kind of Māori live in Auckland. There's the mana whenua who have a kaitiangatanga relationship with the land, and they want to see that acknowledged. And I don't know how you can actually build that into this kind of structure. Somebody needs to sit down and think about it. But then there's also the representational aspirations of all Māori who live in Auckland. And I think the best way, because I cannot support reserved representation for any group. But what I would really like to see is proportional representation. I know that means you can't have wards. That means you would have to stand for political parties at large across Auckland. And I actually see that as being a reasonable approach. I mean, people do represent shades of political opinion anyway. And if you did it as a political party basis right across Auckland, you could have proportional representation. And then Māori and any other group would have an opportunity to...
Thank you, panel. We're going to move on. Coming up, can Rodney Hyde win Epsom? Citizen A is back after the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Citizen A. We're reviewing the week with Auckland Opinion Shapers ACT Party candidate Peter Tashkoff and Deputy Mayor of Waitakere Penny Hulse. Issue 3 this week. So Rodney and Heather have reconciled the way a shark and a semi-automatic machine gun reconcile, but has the damage been done? Can Rodney win Epsom? Penny, many female voters in Epsom will have worked for a bully boss and so would immediately identify with Heather Roy. Would those same female voters re-elect Bully?
I can't imagine they'd re-elect Bully. Not only was he absolutely ghastly to Heather Roy, and I found myself cheering on an ACT Party member, which is the first time I've ever done it. But thinking back to Dancing with the Stars, this man is not good with women. He can't even hold a woman in his arms.
He can't support women, can he? He's not very good at supporting them.
In any manner, shape or form.
You felt for Heather Roy. You think the female voters in Epsom are going to feel the same way?
I absolutely believe they will, and if not, they should.
Peter, you are number 7 on the ACT Party list, and you've challenged Rodney Hyde for Epsom. Why have you done that?
The reason I've challenged Rodney Hyde is it goes back a long way. In November last year, there was rumours of a coup attempt against Rodney Hyde. There was no coup attempt. That was a smear campaign against people who didn't agree with Rodney. The ACT Party, and I'm going to be receiving nasty messages.
Death threats after this,
But the ACT Party is divided, and it's divided between, you've heard the terms pragmatists and purists. The actual terms are populists and principled people. Okay? The ACT Party wasn't founded to be a populist party. Back in 1994, people didn't get together and say, let's find a whole lot of popular causes that we can campaign, get into Parliament, get some nice jobs and sit in there and squat on them. What they said was, here's a series of ideas we believe in, and that got a lot of support from the public.
And the view was for a 10% broad-based party, wasn't it? That you could attract 10% of the vote.
At least 10%. Back in 1925, the Reform Party had 33% of the vote. So there is a reform desire in New Zealand at times when it's needed, and I think most New Zealanders would accept we need reform right now.
But it's now
the ACT Party isn't delivering it.
It's now just a sub 5% threshold, one electorate, and a bunch of crazy populist fringe issues now, isn't it? Well, all around Rodney Hyde.
I read your blog the other day, and you made the comment that the ACT Party has become the political wing of the Coastal Coalition and the Sensible Sentencing Trust, and that kind of resonated a little bit with me. It certainly is not it's not following up on the principles that the party was founded for.
No.
Now, in 2008, people thought that the party was going back that way, and so we had a resurgence in support, nowhere near what we once held, but a resurgence. That's dropped away right now. What you're seeing in the ACT Party is a long-term division between people who are principled and want to return ACT back to what ACT is meant to stand for, because we believe that that's the way to grow the party and do the reforms that we think are the right reforms. I accept you guys may not agree. And we've got people who think, no, we just want to follow that issue because it's going to give us 1%. You know, let's get some of Winston's rednecks. He's out of power, so we'll grab some of them. We'll say this, you know. And that's really where the division is. And
how dysfunctional is it in the ACT Party caucus? How dysfunctional is that?
The answer to that will be revealed over the next 14 months. There are the major groups within the party that hold different views of where the party should be going. Over the period that I've been involved with the party intimately, which has only been since 2008, the people who control the party have failed to address those issues. Last November there was an opportunity to address those issues. They failed to address them. That has led directly to the situation we had 2 weeks ago, where had it been sorted out then, and there were two options. One was to address Rodney's behaviour and say this is not acceptable, you have to change, or the other one was to change Rodney for a different leader. The third option was do nothing, which is what they did. They've still got those options right now as well. And over the next 14 months they'll need to decide what to do them. You asked the question before, can Rodney win Epsom? Well, for Rodney to win Epsom, first of all the ACT Party has to back him to Epsom. If the ACT Party backs him to Epsom, then he's got to actually get the voters of Epsom to vote for him. And the voters of Epsom are very strategic. They didn't vote for Rodney Hyde at the last election. They voted for the ACT Party as a partner to the National Party. It is possible that in 14 months' time they will choose to do that again because they are a very strategic group of people. But I've made this point in a posting I made a week or so ago that it's not Rodney Hyde they're voting for. A kitchen sink standing for Epsom on the ACT ticket would attract more support, in my opinion, than Rodney Hyde.
How safe is his leadership?
I think he's in a reasonably strong position.
So he'll hold it?
It comes down to the ACT Party board.
And the ACT Party board, and will the ACT Party board give it to him?
You've got those three options they've got available to them. Do nothing, change him, or actually try and fix him. I don't think he's fixable.
He's not fixable? Okay.
I think he's a character issue.
They can't change him. Who would they put in?
There are other people that they can
put in. Well, Roger Douglas is the only possible
there is not.
leader, isn't
You
it?
don't need charismatic people leading a party. You just need people that are there
Pascal?
You just need people that are there to follow the principles of the party and you build your brand around.
Not Garrett.
I'm not making any predictions.
Not Garrett.
You're not going to get me to say not Garrett.
Okay. Okay, please Garrett, please Garrett. Question to both of you. Will National cut Rodney loose in Epsom if it gets a bit too damaging? Will they run somebody stronger against them?
I think that the National Party, if they're feeling the mood of the voters out there, will be realising that amongst the thinking people of Auckland, they're blaming Rodney and his populist politics for the schmozzle of the super city process. And I think the two are very much going to be linked in the voters' minds. I admire what in the words of Voltaire, I don't support what you say, but I support with every breath in my body your right to say it. I think ACT needs to go back to a more principled approach and lose the populist approach, because I think that's what's turning off voters in hordes.
Now you've said that, you see, I'm going to receive all sorts of phone calls saying if Penny supports you, you must be wrong.
Let's wrap the show. Let's wrap the show with last word. Penny Holtz, your final word this week is?
Finding myself surprisingly interested in what an ACT Party member has to say.
Penny, your final word.
Yeah, I'd like to come back to the question of reform for New Zealand. ACT once stood for reforming New Zealand. I don't think we do now. I got into politics years ago because I believed, and I think probably anyone who gets in politics believed, that if you want to actually complain about something, you have to be trying to make a difference. And what I would invite anyone watching this program to do is ask themselves what difference they can make, and go out and do it.
Thanks, Mr. Taskoff, Mrs. Holtz. Ladies and gentlemen, to my final word, I love hearing our Prime Minister boasting that Obama will take his call any time and who's off to visit the Queen and who's worth $40 million with a Hawaiian mansion, admonishing teachers for being disconnected from the real world. John Key is so medicatedly optimistic he claimed his bike track to nowhere would create 3,700 jobs when it's barely created 200. Who is optimistic his give war a chance policy in Afghanistan is working, and who is optimistic about the welfare razor gag gang using voodoo math to force solo mothers, the crippled, the mentally unwell and the sick back to work in a 6.8% unemployment environment. Listening to John Key's vacant aspiration lecture teachers about their disconnection from the real world is like taking tolerance lessons from Paul Henry.